Okay, so I would like to introduce that we are doing a reading for the world for 2024. We're going to do an unusual thing for the first time. We're going to have a three-part significator, which will be one card from the major arcana, one card from the court cards, and one card from the minor arcana. Um, and we're going to have the major arcana will sort of represent the spiritual backdrop to the reading. The court cards will kind of talk about leaders, power brokers, YouTube or influencers, and then the minor arcana will sort of talk about the rest of us. And so we can lead off by having Magnus pull up a card from his deck and
Yeah,
see
I'll do
if we
that.
get.
Yeah, the star.
Well, you got one right away. Okay, so
Yeah.
the star and Christina, see if you get a court card.
I got the King of Wands.
Okay, and Jens, do you get a minor arcana card when you pull up a card?
The Ten of Cups.
Yeah.
A Ten of Cups.
So I find this rather hopeful. Um, just kind of bonehead literal that world leaders are going to do something that is ultimately of something uh of a honorable intent or some kind of a spiritual advance with that star card, or that's the spiritual, if that's the spiritual
Yeah.
overtone
Yeah.
of the year upcoming, then thank goodness, in terms of leadership, it looks like they're willing to look to new and different solutions or something next. There's not a lot of begrudging. There's a lot of kind of more uh forward motion, then backward revenge, and then ultimately for the rest of us, it's a big relief. So perhaps the threatened wars will be averted. That would be wonderful, or that they end with some kind of thing that can be satisfying for people. And so in that spirit, that's what I kind of get from these significators personally. What do other people see?
I thought very parallel to what you did, Allison. I think that I couldn't have imagined a more propitious triple of in our first try here, and that it came, and we didn't even have to go through the whole cycle. Seems like the cards really are anxious to tell us something, and we start off with, for the egregore, the card that is most related to hope, which is the star card. So if there's anything I could think of for the world, for the people of the world, have a fresh renewal of hope. Now, let's remember what a significator is. It's for good or for bad. And it could signal, depending on what the spread shows, um, that that the actual Celtic Cross is going to talk about how happy they are going to be, with, and how hopeful that they are going to be. And as I say that, I look at the other two, and I think it also goes right with what Brian was talking about, of how the significator may represent our best hopes for the way that uh, the 2024 year will go. And there we see we drawing a king, which what could be more representative of the rich, the powerful, and so on, and what could be better of a shift? Would it be from if this had been the King of Pentacles, that instead would have indicated that the predominance of greed and ambition might be carried forth, but having it switch to the most spiritual of the four groups, the four suits, I think that is really, again, propitious. And this is also the most esoteric, welcoming significator, with the salamanders and that sort of thing. And then the Ten of Cups for the world. I mean, the masses of people. That's what they want. If everybody could actually live by the golden rule rather than argue about how their religion or your religion should be setting up the rules for everybody else, we could just really treat one another as we would ourselves be treated, and respect one another. That's what is displayed, and it's a 10 card, which always has to do with completions, and it shows happy families and dancing children. What could be better?
I focus on the rainbow because the rainbow in the Ten of Cups, as we know, if you combine it with the Tree of Life, it is in the Tree of Life, and it's a sign of an ascension process. And I think that ascension process was starting during the pandemic, actually, because the spiritual things came into the world in a much faster speed. And I think that is going on, and it will go on this year that we have started now. And also, as we said in last year's reading, the humanity must solve the problems themselves now, because there won't be any divine help. And for that, there is an ascension necessary. And that king is also interesting because it is an outgoing king. He holds the wand outside of the fundament he is resting on. So I think that leaders in the world will be more active and take more responsibility, as this card is indicating. And the star card, the magic is there from a divine source to support, but we have to do something ourselves also. That's my take on it. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like we want to start shuffling cards, and starting with the covering card. We're going to leave that significator blank. So let's see. Jens was the last one to deal a card, so I'll call it my turn, and I will pull up a card, and it is the looks
The
like
Queen of
Queen of
Pentacles.
Pentacles.
Yeah.
And so next is back to you, Magnus.
Yeah, I will put a crossing card, and it is the Six of Swords.
And Allison, a card. And then Jeriel is up.
This is for the recent past. The Nine of Pentacles.
Yeah.
And Christina
I got the Chariot.
The Chariot.
and Jens.
Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune.
And I'm pulling up another card, and it's the Magi.
The Magician.
And then Magnus, you go again.
Yeah. Take a card. And it is the Four of Pentacles.
And Allison.
The Star.
And there's our duplicate from the.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Jeriel, you picked the best milestone position. It's one of the names that we tossed around in our discussion for that position.
The Three of Pentacles.
Three of Pentacles.
Yeah.
And Christina, the cautionary card.
Ace of Pentacles.
Ace of Pentacles.
And finally, Jens, pick a advice card.
The Ace of Swords.
Ace of Swords.
Are you sure that this reading is for this world, our own? It's rather optimistic looking. More than mine. Well, I'm too much of a news junkie.
I'll just jump on in. It's pretty rosy as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just gonna looking at the two kind of circumstantial cards, you have the idea of practical solutions and custodianship, and then the idea of helping to get better. And so with the star underneath in the general tone, with the King of Wands in terms of leadership, that seems very well matched to the Queen of Wands, and then also to this idea of help across a difficult divide. And then for the hopeful masses such as ourselves, having mommy and daddy together and getting across, although it's the King of Wands and the Queen of Pentacles, so they're not exactly the pair, but all these new ideas need to be implemented, and the Queen of Pentacles is good for that kind of thing. And then everybody's glad to get across a difficult period of time, especially after disappointments in the past and so much loss. We can identify, all of us, loss in so many dimensions and in so many places. But then more recently, if the economy is lifting, perhaps there is hope, or if there's some kind of agreement that can be reached, then there's hope, and we can all just like have a roof over our heads. Housing is going to be a big thing, I would anticipate. People just, Maslow's hierarchy, food, clothing, shelter is going to be, well, I'm saying going to be, but it's in the more recent past for us. Certainly housing is a big deal. It's going to blow up in this year upcoming. So how to measure the past is interesting there. Upcoming movement, because of and I think it's going to be fast movement because of all these surrounding cards. With this Chariot, I think that there's going to be unexpected changes that we hadn't necessarily anticipated that really move things along, and then give us something very unanticipated with the Wheel of Fortune, and we just don't know where things are going, so we can't really anticipate, but it's going to be a learning experience. And with the Magician in this unconscious place, I think that the changes that we could see are just going to be very magical seeming, and that if we have that duplication in the Star card in terms of we're thinking about our spiritual background and underpinning, which is nice. Meanwhile, in the world around us, with this with the Queen of Pentacles and with the past Nine of Pentacles, the world is really hanging on to this idea of real estate, housing, how to inflation, and how to get the Fed, and blah blah blah, all these different. I'm speaking very nationally, of course, but worldwide. Reparations, if there's a peace agreement, are people going to be housed? What do you do with refugees? There's a lot of practicality. There's going to be a lot of fight over tax money, maybe, but it's going to be there's going to be an overwhelming kind of altruism, perhaps, and a constructive practicality that we will arrive at, which is wonderful. But we shouldn't execute the ideas. We shouldn't really break ground and do the things until we come to agreement on the plan. And the plan is the Ace of Swords, and the decision is the Ace of Swords. You can't really have action until you have decision. And so it's going to have to be in that kind of order. So that's what I see on those cards. Thank you.
I see a lot of what you do, Allison, and in a minute I'm going to go through card by card, and all this optimism that we're seeing here. I think that right from the get-go with the significators, that the way the cards are speaking to me is that this is about what could be and how it might come about. And I think that's what we're really being talked to about. All of it has the possibilities of going awry, and I think we get some advice specifically on that I'll get to at the end. We start off with the covering card, which together with the crossing card tell us what energies and what vectors there are in the world. And we see the card that is most significant of Mother Nature herself in the Queen of Pentacles. And it goes right back to the creator, or however you want to characterize that force, has given us a potential paradise on this planet. And the cross current to that is in the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords always represents to me a necessary change. So I think this is all about that there are necessary changes for humanity and the planet both, going toward the potential that we have. And if I pop back over to the bottom card on the right hand pillar, we see in the world subconscious the limitless potential of the magician. But the magician's power is based on the magician's sincerity and purpose. And so that's the thing that in our mass subconsciousness needs to be brought forth if we're going to pursue the potential that's suggested by the significators. The bottom card on the left pillar, which has to do with some element of the past, possibly in the deeper levels of our psyche. that is relevant to this particular message from the cards. And what we see is a card that seems to me being indicated, and I think that this is the warning card in the whole spread, the one that would generally be thought of as a negative card, is this Five of Cups. You see the figure standing over the three spilled cups and looking at what they don't have and paying no attention to the two cups behind them that represent what they do have. And this being in cups, this is related to our emotions and devotions. And I think that the warning there is, if we keep fighting the same old battles, then rather than turn around and see two cups, which evokes the symbol in the Two of Cups, which is a couple facing each other in a very inviting way and is suggestive of right human relations. We go now to the recent past, and here we're back in Pentacles. This time, the Nine of Pentacles. So right next to the top, and this card usually represents the reward of a long effort of uh, toward building. The garden is very lush, and the coins are very numerous, and it it shows satisfaction, and we really never know for sure how far back that card is. But I think in terms of this theme that I'm laying out, I think that we were for some time uh, chugging along quite nicely. And we see in the near future card, which also we don't know how near that is. Is that tomorrow or when? But it represents the next significant change. And here we go back and look at the connection between that and the crossing card. The Chariot also stands for significant movement. And I think that it can be tied into a lot of things that are coming to a necessary to a climactic transition. And I would say, with regard to what's represented by our minors in our significator, that's probably related to things like the planet's environment, and are we going to make that change that will keep us from poisoning our planet enough that it becomes unlivable for us. Same thing among the powerful and the influential. I think that a lot of that in politics, we're very much at knocking at heads, and we need to make a transition to cooperation, and it's especially on the agenda for the ever evolving history, this choice that we have of choosing our leader in our country. And this is an issue all around the world right now when right wing, so-called conservative, but more fascistic, authoritarian leaders have been making big inroads in most of the democracies that prevailed in World War II, including ourselves. We go to the mid future and we have the wheel of fortune. Anything can happen here. We could on the roulette wheel of life have our entire stake on 00 and it came up, or those same kind of problems we were talking about before, or I was talking about before, could go the other way. Those transitions wouldn't be successfully made. And I realized I skipped out on the if on regard to the chariot, the motion, the movement that the people have is to get out of these opposing tribes that are motivated mostly by what they dislike about the other, rather than what we all have in common. And we used to, if we go back to, if that recent pass card, say, historically, is the Allies winning in the World War II and creating what has been the world order ever since then, but is in a very challenged place right now. And in our uh, super social media and on the horizon AI as potentials for making for the people, their distrust of one another deeper and deeper. And I think the chariot level move there is the need for something to short circuit that negativity and make us united as a people, the way we were when we and the Allies did defeat the fascists in World War II. Now, the next one, the house, is, I think, how do we all feel about this? And particularly, here's where I want to comment on the pentacle. We notice where the pentacles are. They're in our covering card, our recent past, our house right now, and the advice card, and the result card, the how should this phase end up, and I'll address that in a few minutes. But this card, if you apply it particularly in how people feel about their economics, which is likely to be very predominant in the political results in the year. And this is related very much to economic insecurity and wanting to be safe. You see the figure with both feet. That's his foundation, is those coins, and he's got one on top of his head like a crown, and the other one he's clutching to his breast. And so I think it's saying there that the mood is a lot about economics, and one of the chariot-like changes that we need in our society here, is for people to realize that our economy is doing the best of most of the rich countries of the world, and yet we're very worried that what the price of groceries are. and gasoline, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about star, in that being the significator or the world aggregor. And we come to the card that represents what is the current stage of consciousness. And what could be a stronger statement of the essential of this being hope, with the star card being both in the significator and in our present state of mind. And it's showing to me that what we desperately need is an uprise in hope. And then we go to the where we'll be at the end of this particular phase, and we have the card, and this is one of the most packed with Masonic symbolism in the deck, and it has to do with building and building in a cooperative way, and all of the rituals and philosophy of Masonic teachings uses the metaphor of building, and in that case, King Solomon's temple, and there's a whole thing of how that's we as people and the world and so are all temples, and that's kind of a sidelight, but that's one of the reasons why I'm so strong on this card. And I think that that is all about the need for human cooperation to be able to get or to even approach the very rosy picture that this reading clearly has. And then we get to the advice cards. The Ace of Pentacles, which is a very favorable card, and that is our fourth Pentacle card. And going back to what I said a few moments ago, I think it's a clear message that we've got to get to a point where profit and money and those kind of things run the show, and continuing in that lane is warned against. What instead is the Ace of Swords. And what a remarkable thing about the advice on both sides are aces. Those kind of things in a reading really punctuate whatever their message is. And this reading with four majors, the average is 3, and the two aces being in the advice, and so the swords being the suit that relates to the intelligence, to the ideation. And I think that what it's saying is we've got to start thinking rationally about what we're doing and how we're doing it, and how we cooperate or fight among ourselves. And as has always been, we've been given a virtual heaven on earth that we will make it. And I see this being a loud and clear message. This is going to be a very decisive year, and how we make those choices is going to be a very have importance for a very long time. And with that, I'm gonna hand it off to who is ever next.
I can go. I am looking at the cards and I'm looking at them at a different level. There is a lot of spiritual flow in those cards, actually, of the spiritual process that are going on in the world. And the three of pentacles up there that you already have been touching on, Yariel, there will be a lot of cooperation in the coming year between countries, because it is necessary to do that. And also the two aces there, we should remember that the aces are embryo states. It's not a developed state. So there will be a start of something, but it will not take form this year, actually. It will take years for it to form, but it will be formed. And there needs to be a sort of a master plan also. That's the Three of Pentacles also. And there needs to be more cooperation. And now I go back to the Queen of Pentacles there, because I think that is connected here, that the leaders in the world and people in the world needs to take more responsibility for what we have and needs to develop that. And then I also I saw that the last year also, and that is a separate connection here, but I see a connection to Great Britain, that Great Britain will be important in the coming year, and that has to do with the Brexit, the former Brexit process, because something will be active in Great Britain that will place it in the news, actually, and I don't think that has happened yet, but I think it will be something. And then the Five of Cups that you was touching on also, Jeriel, as a warning card, I will go a bit deeper. I will go Kabbalistically here and look at the Tree of Life, and the three cups that has fallen in that card is the diagonal between Netzach, Tiferet, and Gevura, the three Sephiroths in the Tree of Life. And that diagonal seems to not be active, or seems to have fallen. And then there is another diagonal in the Tree of Life, as we know, and that is the diagonal between the Sephira of Hod and Tiferet and Hesed. And that is a diagonal of light, actually. And there is a light inflow that is coming to this world, I think, 2024. And also that figure is trying to come home, actually, to that house on the other side of the river there, and he will not discover the bridge before he turns around, actually, because the two cups there is one thing, but the bridge is another thing. And I think that we are beginning to discover bridges that we haven't discovered before, and that can be also between countries. And I think that is connected to the Nine of Pentacles also. That is a sort of a foundation, it's a sort of a garden, it's a sort, something new will grow, something new will start to grow. And the Six of Swords there also is like there is an escape route from what has been created this long. And I've said that before, but I think it will be clear that there is a way out of this situation as the world is in now. And also the King of Wands for the leaders and the influencers, they will be more outgoing in this year, actually, because there needs to be some form of action to end the wars that are going on and to find the cooperation, going back to the Three of Pentacles again. The Chariot there is connected for me to that spiritual process that is needed, and that is the divine energy that comes down into this world to be there so we can work with it. And I think that is connected to the Wheel of Fortune also, because that is the process that already started during the pandemic, that there was a greater interest in tarot card, in astrology and esoterical principles and disciplines. And that will go on. And connecting that to the magician, it is totally clear to me that there will be a greater interest for those types of subjects. And I also think people will discover more how they can use the tools that the tarot cards are, and the astrology and the numerology and alchemy and all of the other disciplines. People will be more experimenting with this, and I think also leaders will open up to that channel, actually. I think that is there. And the Four of Pentacles goes for me back to the four there, goes back to the Sephira of Hesed, actually, in the Tree of Life. That is Jupiter and the jovial energy, and that goes back to the leaders again, and the power of the leaders, because the leaders and the influencers are those who can do something. Others can strive to do something, but the leaders are those who can get things into action. And I think that will be some sort of thoughts there, but the four there is holding on to resources. So I think it will be difficult cooperation between countries, even if it is necessary. And the Star card is again this hope and this miracle that will come into the world this year, I think, or at least we can hope for it, but I think it will be there, actually. And for me, this is a very hopeful reading, actually, and it is more about ideals than money, actually, because that's the two aces up there, the Ace of Pentacles in the cautionary position. Don't base everything on money and resources. Ideas are very important here. And the ideas goes also back to the diagonal I was talking about before, between the Sephira of Hod and Tiferet and Hesed, because that is mirrored here in this reading, and that is about ideas also, because Hod is logical and it is Mercury and it is communication. So there needs to be more of that, and I think it will be also. But I think it will be a year where many things will happen, and many stunning things will happen that people hasn't thought about, and they will be of a positive nature, I think. And I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
There's nothing really more to add. Just to point out that there are no dark cards. We don't see the devil, we don't see the tower, we don't see any of the extremes. So maybe we've been through, we're learning our lessons, and when I say we, humanity, and that the thing about, what popped in my head when I saw this was money makes the world go round. It's like, this is like a really, I wonder if the stock market's going to be doing good. I just keep picking that up. And remember that that's like universal, that the idea about, how they say money is the root of all evil. It's not the money, it's the people, how it's used. and how it could be, used for bad things or good things. And I think the wars that's going on, see, again, we're not seeing these dark cards, the extreme cards. So yeah, I'm just it looks like this year is going to be more spiritual and kind of bringing together the physical, the money part, where it's not going to be the evil, it's going to be part of the matter, the marriage between matter and spirit. I think that's what the Three of Pentacles is telling us, that balance is coming, that's our goal. And the Star about the spiritual, that came out twice. So it is encouraging that we're learning our lessons and we're evolving. The swords of the boat crossing, there is movement, and migrations, there's people, we're going to see a lot of people moving from different countries. And sometimes war has to do that so that there is more integration. And that's part of humanity's evolving. So yeah, this is positive. Again, no black cards, no, except for the past. And maybe this is a time to maybe invest some money in the stock market. No, I'm just joking with that. But it's just it's inspirational. It's we're evolving, and it's positive. So that's all I wanted to add with.
It's hard for me to really believe that things might go so well this coming year, as this reading has looked so positive. I mean, particularly, I love the idea that there could be radical changes. That would be good. That would be really good. And it's just a little tough to believe, but the easy to imagine that people are hunkering down. Their reality in people's lives is to the effect that, oh, you better just hunker down, duck. He's probably about to lean over to avoid artillery shells or other socioeconomic, political, and military hazards. And so I can appreciate that the way people are experiencing the world, which is very much experiencing the world is the meaning of that position. They're inclined to hunker down, and but isn't it interesting? I think that it appears that there is a great deal of hope in the consciousness of humanity. I mean, that's really all we could do is hope. There's this, again, as a news junkie, it's not easy to hold a lot of hope. And I truly hope that there's something to have hope about. But, again, as Christina points out, the lack of, the absence, I wouldn't call it a lack of foreboding cards. And the only interesting dichotomy really is the two cards that color what we need to be careful of and what we need to cultivate. And on the right, the Ace of Swords, well, there's a lot of thinking that needs to be reset. And the Ace of Swords would be the beginning of new, clean thinking that is not tainted by so much conceptual pollution that the collective and individual minds have suffered from. But what about that Ace of Pentacles? It kind of cautions us against expecting too much new starts. But probably the card that really that I'm struggling most with is trying to understand this most desirable milestone position of the Three of Pentacles, and there's been a lot of nice reflection on it. It still is elusive to me what it could be about. But it would be, let's see, the three that isn't that understanding in the tree. Is it possible that there could be more understanding? That would be a great healing agent, understanding, to understand one another. But it's all very easy for me to imagine that the consciousness of people in the world is full of hope, desperate, almost desperate hope, hoping for something better. But the fact that we have it there as the spiritual backdrop, as a resource from deep inside, is that maybe, it's hard for me to believe, but maybe it really is reason to have hope.
Also, there's a lot of balancing going on.
I was reacting on your comment also, Brian, of the reference to understanding, and there are no tools in this, so there are no wisdom in it. It's understanding, but it is not wisdom. That could be a sort of a key, but understanding is good, and perhaps it should only be understanding and no wisdom for the moment.
Well, we will all be deserving of champagne this time next year if the potentialities that we saw in the cards tonight
Yeah.
go in the right directions. We're all
Yeah.
forewarned they may not.
Well, from your lips to God's ear, as they often say, Jeriel, because yeah.